JohnVPetrocelli, The Life-Changing Science of Detecting Bullshit. Welcome to a world where believing in misinformation and ignoring evidence can impact our lives in profound ways. The Life-Changing Science of Detecting Bullshit by JohnVPetrocelli sheds light on the different facets of bullshitting and its implications on our memory, beliefs, and decision-making. Through eye-opening examples and actionable advice, this book summary outlines the distinction between bullshitting and lying, why bullshitting is harmful, and how we can train ourselves to become more discerning, critical thinkers in a world that often thrives on misinformation.
Bullshit versus truth. NBA star Kyrie Irving sparked a controversy when he claimed the Earth was flat, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. While it may seem incredulous, 1 in 50 U.S. adults shares this belief. The problem lies not in a lack of concrete information but in the fact that these individuals actively choose to disregard the truth and substitute it with their version of reality. In other words, they bullshit. However, bullshitting is not the same as lying. Whereas a liar is concerned with hiding the truth, the bullshitter does not care whether what they are saying is true or not. In some cases, bullshitting can be harmless, but in others, it can be dangerous, as shown by former U.S. President Donald Trump's suggestion of injecting disinfectant as a cure for COVID-19, which led to fatalities. In this book, the author explores the problem of bullshitting in our society, including everyday examples of it and how it benefits the bullshitter to the detriment of everyone else. The impact of bullshit. When we buy something, we pay a reasonable markup for the retailer's risks. However, some markups, such as the ones on restaurant wine and soda, go beyond reasonable, known as bullshit markups. These markups can affect our memory, beliefs, attitudes, and decisions. Research shows that we prefer bullshit and it aligns with our worldview, and we tend to accept it as the truth when we hear it for the first time. Moreover, we often rely on intuition instead of facts. Bullshit can have long-term effects, and undoing it takes time. An example of a bullshit decision is the extermination of sparrows in China, which led to famine and the death of millions. Beware of bullibility. Bullibility is the susceptibility to accepting bullshit as fact without realizing it. This affects everyone to varying degrees and can lead to poor decision-making. People with the psychological trait of agreeability are more susceptible to being bullible. The context, our thinking, and our mood also contribute to bullibility. Holding even just one belief based on bullshit increases our vulnerability to being bullible. Ponzi schemes are a great example of how bullibility can lead to financial loss. Therefore, it's important to be aware of our own bullibility and to develop critical thinking skills to avoid being misled by bullshit. The art of bullshitting. The human tendency to bullshit is exacerbated and we feel obligated or expected to contribute our opinions. According to the author, this phenomenon is more prevalent when conversing with people who know less about a particular subject. However, when we feel accountable for our words or lack knowledge on a topic, bullshitting can decrease. Some individuals are more prone to bullshit than others, especially those who seek approval from others and possess a false sense of knowledge. The desire to fit in often prompts us to contribute to conversations even if we have no expertise on the topic at hand, resulting in a heaping pile of bullshit. Bullshitters' tactics. The book reveals how bullshitters use storytelling, pseudo-profundity, and personal connections to manipulate people. It highlights the case of facilitated communication, a debunked technique that still enjoys widespread use in schools worldwide. While evidence refutes these tactics, bullshitters ignore scientific data and twist the facts to fit their point of view. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's changing opinion on National Security Advisor John Bolton is a prime example of such behavior. By shedding light on these maneuvers, one can become a better bullshit detector and avoid being misled by false claims. Detecting bullshit in TED Talks. TED Talks are seen as sources of inspiration and education, but not all speakers present accurate information. Critical thinking is essential in detecting bullshit and disposing of it. This includes evaluating the speaker's assumptions, expertise, and motivation, examining the evidence presented, and seeking out further information. Asking questions like what, how, and have you considered can help. Being objective and avoiding personal attacks can also contribute to detecting and calling out bullshit. The art of being an inquisitive truth seeker. The author highlights the issue of people being duped by withholding important information. The message emphasizes the importance of asking the right questions to make informed decisions. The book uses examples such as the car sales industry to explain the impact of asking the right questions. The key takeaway from the book is that the failure to detect bullshit is usually due to what you don't do and don't ask. The author encourages readers to become inquisitive truth seekers and make better informed decisions by asking questions and learning. No more bullshitting. We all have a responsibility to rid the world of bullshit by following certain principles. We need to call out bullshit only when we're certain, combat it with evidence-based reasoning, make calling it out contagious, and recognize our own limitations. Bullshit has real-world consequences, as seen in the U.S. response to COVID-19. Building a world without bullshit requires a collective effort, but the benefits are worth it.
As we've seen in the various examples presented by JohnVPetrocelli, the consequences of believing and disseminating bullshit can be detrimental to our decision-making abilities and the overall well-being of our society. It not only affects our individual lives but can have far-reaching repercussions when left unchecked. By honing our critical thinking skills, exercising intellectual humility, and fostering an environment that encourages evidence-based reasoning, we can empower ourselves and those around us to challenge misinformation and foster a world where facts and reason are given the importance they deserve. Remember, detecting and combating bullshit is not just an individual responsibility, but a collective endeavor that can lead to a healthier and more informed society.